This video, I sit down with 6 other UC Davis engineering students to discuss engineering student life at our university. This discussion is unfiltered and the most candid account of life as a UC Davis engineering student. My name is Gauruv Virk, I'm a 5th year electrical engineering major, and my pronouns are he, him. And this is your cast of the UC Davis Engineering Student Roundtable. Also, before the video starts, it would be great if you took a moment to subscribe. It doesn't really do anything for you, but it helps me out a lot. Alright, hope you enjoy the video. Thanks. Okay, so first question. What is the first question? Oh, it's a toughie, or maybe it'll be easy. What do you hate about UC Davis's engineering program? Nijo, do you want to start?
I guess I hate the intensity of it, the workload, the time consumption, and just the stress that builds up on you.
Yeah. Do you think it's different for engineering majors versus other majors? Is it just amplified?
I don't really want to compare because I don't think people learn a lot of engineering concepts outside of college, but everyone knows how to write essays. You can go into college writing essays for general education courses and liberal art majors, but you don't go in solving equations and programming, or at least I didn't have the background of that going into college.
That's fair. Yeah, it's a rather esoteric information. Really, yeah. It's not, you don't learn that stuff growing up. It's kind of all specific to you.
Yeah, just thrown at you all at once.
Yeah. And Divi, you were nodding, right? That engineering's has a different kind of struggle than maybe some other majors. Is that true, or what do you feel?
I think it's definitely different, but I don't know, the types of classes we have are just more intense in the sense that our lab classes, we have lab checkoffs, and I think we can all understand the impending deadline of lab checkoffs. I know I did when I took lab classes and it was remote, and I would sit there with my circuit not working, and time was ticking down to when the lab checkoff deadline would occur. And we have lots of little hiccups that can happen with that process, like technical difficulties with your software or your hardware. And I think that's very unique to lab classes and engineering in general. It's definitely intense, but I still like to think of it as a good thing because it teaches you how to experience these problems and develop those problem solving skills. But yeah, when I saw that question, the first thing I thought of was lab checkoffs because I don't like lab checkoffs.
Yeah. And I agree. Sometimes it's just you could do everything right and it's a component issue. Your wire just doesn't work. I've had peers be try a different wire and then it works. And I'm like, what was wrong with the first wire? Did you have a bad childhood? What happened? You know?
Usually you find out that issue after hours of going through every other troubleshooting process there is before realizing it's a component issue. But yeah, things like that, not that fun. But it's at least satisfying when you figure it out.
And you make a good point that it is actually a good thing too, in a way. We got to be optimistic, I guess, because in the real world, everything isn't perfect. So it teaches you, I guess, real world problem solving. So I guess that's good. As much as it sucks. We must acknowledge it sucks a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
I think the first thing that came to mind for me was that within said engineering program, there's a ton of genius people. Yeah. Not even on the same wavelength, just the select few that are incredibly smart, that sometimes they make me feel a little incompetent, if you will. But I feel that might be the same case at any engineering program, but I have noticed that here there's a lot of smart people. I mean, we're all smart, but they're next level smart,
That's right. There's some geniuses, some people that work at Apple stores. Yeah, they're geniuses. But also I found, I don't know, maybe I'm uncovering a secret here. I found a lot of people fake competence. I found a lot of people don't know what they're doing, but I found engineers have this unique ability to appear like they know what they're doing a lot of the time. And then you ask them and they're like, I don't know. I'm like, what? So I'm just like you? And they're like, yeah, except I make it look good. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. I totally get that though. You do feel so inadequate a lot of the time.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
One thing I would say maybe would be nice to be more projects. I know some classes have labs, but it seems like we don't really get to do projects until you hit senior year, and until then it's very conceptual information. You can, but that would be something that you would need to take initiative on, find some research position or do an internship to get that hands-on experience beforehand.
Gotcha. Nijo, you agree?
Yeah, I do. It's definitely very rough your first 2 years because you literally don't really know anything. Even until second year, unless you're like one of those geniuses. For example, electrical, like you know your microcontrollers, you know like most circuit parts that other people don't. And software, it just gives you a really big advantage, which faculty will want because you're so young and you're just that much talented that you could jump right into it. But for like your average people like me, you just gotta start bottom and slowly go up.
Yeah, I can attest to the zero projects thing. My senior project for civil engineering, we had to work with wood, and no one in the class knew how to work with wood. Like we never took any like wood structural class, so we had to learn things like on the fly during senior project.
How did you solve the wood issue?
Luckily, we had a really good advisor who works with wood a lot. But a lot of the things we had to research on our own.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a way that that could have been fixed? Is it just because it could, I don't know, like looking from an idiot's point of view, like the way to fix not knowing about wood is teaching them about wood earlier. But is that the fix?
It could have been, but I think it was just like a situational thing.
Okay.
Because our year senior project was like constructing a tiny home.
Oh.
So, I mean, we could have chosen any other material, but it was mainly wood. So like as we do like a different step of the process, it would be like a whole new chapter we have to learn about wood.
Gotcha.
I'm glad that we had good advisors and good TAs to help us along, but it was very like, why didn't we have a class about wood when a lot of construction uses wood?
Oh, that's true. And then, so yeah, civil engineering is your major, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they don't go over that?
Nope.
Oh, that's
They go over metal and concrete, and that's about it.
I see. Yeah, it's all about that concrete learning.
Yep.
For me, I'll touch on what Nijo was saying earlier about like course load, because I remember very specifically, even at like orientation, so 5 years ago, right?
Mhm.
There was a story of somebody who was going into a computer science as a degree, and they were second year and like almost done with their degree, so they double majored into I think it was management or economics or something. And while you guys were talking, I was looking up something here. So for an electrical engineering degree, it is 146 to 151 units to graduate. For a computer science degree, it is 100 to 106. So an extra 40 to 50-ish units for being the engineer. I know it's required. I know there's a lot of it is probably like the lower div stuff you got to know.
Mhm.
But in terms of, what we have to do, I would say there's a lot more requirement.
Yeah. Extra toppings. Yeah. But like too much fudge, like too much of a good thing. You've heard that, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. All those moms that drink a lot of wine, it's like, okay, but it gets to a point where there's too much wine, So, and then they start telling you about their family. And it's like, oh, I should know this much. Sorry, I went off.
Well, connecting with that, I was even in high school, I was the math and science guy. So I actually enjoyed some of the calculus classes. So even these lower div stuff that, you just got to slug through it, still interesting enough. So yeah, I am that guy.
Yeah, I feel weird too because I do like math, but here's my secret. That's all I like. Like that's my thing. I'm a one-hit wonder, but like one subject wonder. That's all I like. So, yeah. But then I get crap because I like math. But then I have to admit I hate history. I hate English. I hate anything that doesn't involve numbers because I have zero people skills. So I take solace in my digits.
I don't know if this goes for all other majors at UC Davis, but this was like a big thing that happened to me and a lot of other friends who were engineering, is that our advisors were kind of misleading with the classes we need to take.
Yes.
For me, I needed a certain amount of units to take senior design, and my advisor like totally forgot about that. And she's like, oh yeah, take senior design for this quarter. And that's like, okay. And I was like at my pastime ready to take it. And it's like not letting me. And I'm like, hold on. And then I go look at the prereqs. It's like, oh, you need this many units. You need this class. You need blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, why didn't my advisor tell me? And then I think this happened for another friend where his advisor told him to take this class. It should be fun. And he goes and takes it. And it's totally not fun. Doesn't really relate much to his major, but it was like an engineering prereq. I feel like they could have chosen advisors who knew more about our engineering major. Or I guess the best person who would go to would usually have like a student advisor, right? So I prefer, if I have any advice, to go to that student advisor than to like the main one.
Yeah, I found that to be true too. I forgot about that. But weird, my advisor had like a student assistant, and they were immensely insightful because they were
Yeah.
doing it. Like
Yeah.
they were who I was shooting to be in 2 to 3 years. So
hmm
who to know better than them who's already done it? It's like, when you have an older sibling, it's sometimes it's like you get kind of a pass as a younger one because they paved the road.
hmm
They went down the right road.
hmm
And then it helps you to not to go down that road if they went down the wrong one. So yeah, then you pave a different one. But yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, that would help a lot. But then you also
Yeah.
said the advisor doesn't have an engineering background. Is that what you said? I don't want to misquote you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't have one, or not at UC Davis at least.
Okay. Is that true? I don't know that. But is that like confirmed somewhere?
I don't know.
Right.
Someone check, but they obviously didn't like know much about like UC Davis engineering classes and how it would be in each class.
True. That's a good point. Have any of you guys found that to be true too? Maybe misleading advisor advice? The old MAA? So.
I don't know if it was misleading, but not as helpful. It was just general questions that they would ask you and general answers they would give you. Whereas, a student guy or two, pretty helpful in terms of, oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, that sucked.
Yes. Yeah. I do give engineering students credit. They're very, because they don't have to be another way, but they're very candid, we'll say, with their class reviews. Yeah, they're like a more brutal version of Rate My Professor. Anyone else?
Not the program itself, but like our engineering building, like Kemper. I feel like it kind of sucks compared to like a lot of other campuses engineering buildings. Like, or I don't know if I just like get depressed once I walked in, but it's just old on the inside. Like it's like on the outside you see like this old plane. Like I don't know. I feel like it could look so much better.
Yeah. I've heard like one criticism I've heard from students, not just engineering, is that a lot of Davis's buildings, they don't have like they're just buildings. They're these big concrete, and then there's no nature around them, and so it's like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, I haven't been back in like 2 years, so I hope they've been like putting in work to like make it look a lot nicer.
I don't know about looking nicer. I remember having to drop off a kit somewhere, and I'm pretty sure there were more cobwebs than ever before on it. So
I remember that.
Damn. They've done some renovation in the past, pandemic time. They've like paved roads and stuff. But I think I can confirm Kemper hasn't really been touched at all. Well, probably more cobwebs. So
I'm not surprised.
yeah, it's addition. What is it? Subtraction by addition, more cobwebs, but that's worse, Anyways, what do you love about UC Davis's engineering program? Steph, you're out of it now.
I am happily out of it now.
Right. Ooh, so is nostalgia not that strong?
I would say nostalgia of being with peers and friends. Most of the time, I really like my TAs. Majority of the TAs I have, I can build like a good like student TA relationship. I can see them around campus like, oh, hi, how's your day? Blah, blah, blah. But I would say the TAs really pushed me through a lot of my classes. And they're all like great.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I would agree with her. The TAs and professors, you can tell they really are passionate about what they're teaching. I guess it depends. Like, it's definitely like a class by class basis, but that has been the trend so far.
I found that not necessarily like the math, chem, physics classes, but the entry level or intro classes for specific engineering, like for civil, I got to take ECI 3, and like our lab was like super cool. Like we got to take a biking field trip to the wastewater treatment plant. I know not many people will think that's too cool, but I found it quite interesting. And my roommate was chemical engineering, and I know she got to take like the design a coffee class, which I've heard good things about. So I'd say our like intro classes, from what I've heard, are like pretty cool. So that's something I like about it.
And then it only gets worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how they suck you in. It's how they trick you into becoming an engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like catfishing. Yeah. but with 4 to 5 years of your life. Yeah. That's a committed relationship in most cases, I would say. That's when you like consider marriage. Yeah. I've heard societal norms, you know. Yes.
We're
Dude,
engineers. Do we have relationships?
I don't know. That's a good point. Hmm. Let's not put labels on anything. You know, it's a dangerous game. Yeah. Divya, do you love anything about Davis's? I like I always say, do you love anything? As if there's anything to love. Yeah. But no, do you love anything?
Yeah, I really appreciate the people in the engineering program because it's always nice when you sit down and lecture and you are very lost and you hear someone who's like, I don't really know what's going on. And I'm like, me too, I really don't know what's going on. So I think it's the people like classmates, like helping each other with like homework and labs and just knowing that, yeah, engineering is hard and it sucks sometimes, but at least we're in it together. So I appreciate that aspect.
Yeah. A sinking boat is so much better than just like a sinking raft that only you're on. 'Cause that means like everyone's gonna die. Bad
But we're
enough.
all in this together,
We're
so
all in
it's
it together.
okay.
That was the point I was trying to
Yeah.
get. Right, yeah, yeah. I needed that clarity. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's true. And I found that is what has attracted, as much as engineering gets frustrating at times, I'll say, like it is the people that remind me why I'm doing it. I do like engineers as a people. They're good people. And that's what I've done some internships, and that's what I've found is the most memorable thing about them is the people you meet. That is ultimately, you know, day to day, maybe it's not the most intriguing stuff in the world, but yeah, it's the people that make it okay to keep coming back. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's really, for me, my whole experience has just been the people.
Mhm.
Classmates are like super supportive. I actually like how we're pretty diverse in like engineering clubs. For civil, we have like engineers without borders. There's chemical engineering clubs, electrical engineering. There's like IEEE, and then the club of female or future female electrical engineers. So I
Coffee.
really like that diversity.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is that coffee?
that's coffee, yeah,
Yeah, that's a dope name, by the way. I can't believe
yeah.
that's so sick.
And even like if you're into what's the fraternities, like we have Theta Tau and honor societies.
Mhm. I do also the point you made about like everyone wants to help everyone. I don't know how other schools' cultures are. I can't really talk much about that, but I can say like the engineering major students here, there was a better way to say that, but the engineering majors here, they just want like you and them to succeed, and that's dope. Like no one's ever trying to like sabotage anyone, which is
Yeah,
great. Which is weird that that's even like a standard. I'm like, no one's trying to screw me over. How great is that, huh? Look at our school.
yeah, for sure. Like we always want the better of each other.
Yes. So this next question is, why should someone study engineering at UC Davis? What's the appeal? We've already kind of touched on maybe some talking points, but what do you think? Why should someone study engineering at UC Davis? Aaron, I know you're still like brand, should I not have called on you? I know you're still like decently brand new to the program, right?
Relatively, third year, 2 years in.
So do you think like being an entry level person, do you see the appeal still? I really.
Being in the honestly, it's like the physics and the chem and the math situation that makes it like unappealing, but everyone has to get through it at any school, no matter what you're going through. But I would say what came to mind when you asked the question is, I know this is kind of, we might talk about this later, but I found a lot of pride in being able to say that I do engineering at UC Davis, and it is a highly ranked engineering program. And I guess being a student there, we get to reap the benefits of a highly ranked engineering program. So I guess it's, you get the satisfaction saying I study engineering at UC Davis.
I mean, that's good enough reason.
Yeah.
That's a really good reason. It's really good when you're applying for jobs like, oh yeah, UC Davis engineering.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, UC Davis, wow, that's huge. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not like the smartest, but like UC Davis just sells it for me.
Yeah. I've also found from working a few times that there is like I don't know if this is supposed to be a secret, there's like a bias. If there's a UC Davis person interviewing you, they're like, hello, fellow Aggie. I'm like, all right, easy. I don't know you yet. But, yeah, they get real comfortable, and that works out.
Yeah. We got that going for us, if not anything else.
Yeah, but that's good stuff to hear from someone, on the other side, that it's a great thing. Yeah, trust me, in the middle of it, I can make an argument the other way, but it's good that on the other side.
Yeah, it's good over here.
I think for me, the appeal is how nice everyone is, because I've heard horror stories of how competitive other engineering programs are, or just the school in general. People are not as kind to each other. And I don't know, at Davis, I just feel like we all understand each other and we all vibe well, even if you don't know a person. But if you need help with like homework or you're stuck in lab, someone will probably be willing to stay and like help you with your work or anything like that. And even like UC Davis in general, it's always nice to like walk around campus and see like if someone needs help with their bike or they're lost, like people will help you out and like no one will turn you away. So that's like the really nice part, that everyone's comfortable here.
Yeah. So some might say, the kids nowadays, they might say the vibes are immaculate. Yes.
They may say that, yes.
They maybe do. Yeah. I'm at the spry age of 22,
I wouldn't have done 5 years of engineering at Davis if I didn't think it was worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
People definitely. And even classes, you never really felt like somebody was trying to fail you. Like if you screwed up, that was kind of on you.
Yeah.
Same thing hearing horror stories about other universities too.
Yeah.
It's challenging, but it's with a purpose.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I wish they were trying to sabotage me, so I'd have an excuse to why I do so poorly. That's the most tragic part. Sometimes what you just said is, if I'm doing poorly, see, I can't even talk. Most of the time, it's my fault, and that's tragic. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to take responsibility for my own actions.
Yeah, the worst. Oh my God.
I would say something that's really good is, or something that is nice, is that you can really grow throughout the years. So like what I started out thinking I would like, or kind of like narrow your focus into a topic that you like, and kind of like find your niche or what you would like to study afterwards, or work or research or whatever. I think that would be good. I started off in like computer engineering and have acquired electrical engineering throughout the years, and so I think that's definitely something kind of unique. A lot of the professors teach both, and so you kind of have like that perspective as well.
This discovering, like finding new interests and stuff, is that through classes that you were able to find those?
Yes, like through classes, through lab sections, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Sure. I've also, on the other side of it, you like take classes to find out what you like. I've taken classes and found out some things I don't like. It's like, I have to do that again? No, I don't want to do that. So yes, it's good for you finding out what you like and what you don't like, but you got to try it first. It's like a buffet. That's a great thing about buffets. Yeah. You can just take one of everything and you're like, I'm never going to eat that, what is it? The onion that's like split up. Oh my God.
Blooming onion.
Blooming onion.
Blooming onion. Oh my God. I've taken a little piece of blooming onion before and I'm like, maybe you shouldn't have bloomed, Yeah. Nietzsche, is there any reason? I mean, we're pretty much saying what you were talking about, right?
Oh yeah, just like when Divya mentioned her point, like you reminded me what I was gonna say. Like, I feel like Davis people do have like a reputation of being nice, and I feel like that reputation really shows in the engineering students. I mean, I don't want to add like any other colleges, like like a college in Berkeley.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
like we're not like that.
Yeah.
Also, just something for like electrical and computer engineering department. Like I like how they've always been improving the curriculum ever since my first year here, because they took out one computer science course that all electrical and computer have to take with the CS department. Mm-hmm. And then automatically the ECD department just made a course of their own for programming out of nowhere. So that was pretty cool to see. Mm-hmm. And it's even changing like now. I'm like a fourth year now, and that happened during my first year. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's cool that they're building new courses. Now if they could build
exactly
things, that would also
and like like new senior design courses are always coming out, so that's really cool.
Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, to have that variety. It'd be nice if in 20 years you could be like, you look at 20 years of examples, but then there's also something nice about doing your own thing for the first time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, we're back to some poison here. Why should someone not study at UC Davis? I guess this is a repeat of the first question, but is there a reason that maybe a potential candidate would be turned away? Like it would be in their best interest not to study here.
I think for me, I wish I had known how large the class sizes were and how that affects your availability of meeting with the TA or meeting with the professor. I definitely miss, like back in high school and middle school, the smaller class sizes and the more interaction, because a lot of the like classes don't have as many TAs. I remember for one of my ECS courses, we had one TA. And for like coding classes, having one TA is not ideal because everyone needs like help with their projects and like more office hours and availability. So I think definitely the class size is a factor. I wish I had known before and maybe it would have influenced my decision to come to UC Davis and study engineering here, because I definitely miss building a relationship with your professor or your TA. It's kind of hard to do that when you're lost in the sea of, I don't know, 300, 400 students.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, because there are those colleges that offer that more like traditional like grade school. I don't know what you call everything before college, but like that grade school, like 30-person, 40-person class. And yeah, it does let you be more one-on-one. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and in that same thought, I think meeting with advisors is difficult because there's one advisor for hundreds of students. And I know around the time where there's holds and you need to make an appointment with your advisor, it can be impossible to find an appointment or get a response from your advisor. And it's not, their fault. They have like hundreds of students to respond to. It's just the sheer volume of students that there are. And that ratio between students and faculty is just very lopsided.
That's true. And it brings back to that point that Steph was touching on earlier, where it's like sometimes the advisor just kind of gives you this general piece of advice, and it's because there's so many of you. So you just got to keep applying this cookie cutter thing. You like walk in, they're like, "What's your name again?" And you're like, "Gauruv." They're like, "Okay, I was going to guess Daniel." I'm like, "I don't know where you got that from. It says on the paper." Yeah, there's like this personal relationship that will pretty much never form unless maybe this isn't the best thing. You have to keep going in, and then you're like a problem, and they have to know your name by that point. They're like, "Oh, you again. Hey, Gauruv, yes, sit down. What do we need to talk about today?" So yes, that's a really good point.
And I would like to add on to that. Sometimes, like when there are a lot of students, it can take a while to get your grades back, or have assignments scored, or you will get them back like later in the quarter when it's kind of like, midterms or final, and it would have been nice to have it for like the midterm, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think this is a thing anymore because like the policies have changed. But remember when we were able to do during the pandemic pass no pass till like the end of the quarter? There were some times where I was like, I don't know if I want to because I don't know my grade in the class.
Yeah.
Half the shit is ungraded.
Yeah, you said until the end of the quarter, so I think like right before finals start, you have to decide pass or no pass, but you really don't know what your grade is in that class. Like you have no idea.
Yeah. Now, Steph, you're on the other side. I'm treating you as like the token alumni.
It's okay.
But like being on the other side, would you have gone in a different way? If you were to do it again, would Davis still be your option?
I think it would still be my option. I think what pulled me into Davis was honestly like literally the vibes of the school.
Yeah.
When like I told people, oh, these are the schools that I got in, like back in high school, they're like, why don't you go to Davis? You're literally like a Davis person. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I do like the program. I like the classes I took. I like people I met. There's one class that I just really liked, civil engineering geotech, to the point where I just took all the geotech classes and I was like, wow, this is fun. I'm struggling, but this is so fun.
Yeah.
I would still have gone to UC Davis. And they probably have all the clubs at other colleges, but I was able to join a lot of engineering clubs and I found them fun. My friend was the team lead for bio innovation group. That's like not my major, but he was a team lead. And I was like, okay, I'll join it for you. And
Yeah.
I liked it. Steel Bridge is really fun. And Conquer Canoe, like the things you learn there, you can't really apply to depending on like what work you want to do outside, but making the friends is probably the best part.
Yeah.
And talking to people.
Gotcha. So if you're scared of diverse groups of club, maybe don't come here.
Yeah.
Too many
If you don't like the fun classes and all the groups and organization, don't come here.
Gotcha. Noted. And well, Jared?
I can't think of a specific reason why you wouldn't want to do engineering at Davis. Like this seems more of a general question of why would you go to Davis or not? And I think your other video, to plug that, did a fairly decent job of outlining the pros and cons.
Good to know.
Yeah, I think just what has been said generally is pretty true. So I
Mhm.
will just bump that sentiment.
Gotcha. Another angle, I guess, that I'm curious about is if you did get into engineering at multiple schools, did you decide Davis over another one? Or was it not even was the distinction not the engineering program, just the school in general? Like, was it more of a Davis versus blank rather than a Davis engineering versus blank engineering? Did anyone have that debate in their head?
For me, Davis is actually the only school I applied to for engineering, believe it or not. I was either gonna go engineering route here. It was like that's what I wanted to do the most. And then I applied elsewhere. I don't know what I was thinking, under like finance, economics, anything else that involved like numbers. So I didn't have the engineering program to engineering program debate. I was pretty much just like, if I get into Davis, I know I'm gonna go to Davis. So
Yep.
That's where I was at 3 years ago.
That's interesting. I'm curious, you get into finance at another school. Would you have tried to get your way into engineering, or would you have just done finance?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. The other schools that I applied to were like small private schools, or not all of them. I applied to like STSU, for example, and like that's obviously not a small private school, but there were like small private schools that didn't even like have civil engineering or whatever. So I was just like, I don't know where I was at. I was going through it with my decision making. So yeah, I always wanted to do engineering at Davis, so I was kind of flipping with my
Yeah.
other choices, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it worked out. Yeah.
Decision for me was between Davis and Cal Poly.
Mhm.
And the combination of just hearing a couple of horror stories of Cal Poly engineering programs, that's the main reason. But also Davis was kind of my number one to begin with for kind of some other reasons.
Yep. Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, it works out when the thing you wanted like happens. It's a beautiful thing.
It was same for me. It was between like UC Davis, Cal Poly SLO, and UC San Diego. But it didn't come down to like engineering. It came down more to like in the future how I pay for how much is housing, because I live in the Bay. Davis is closer to me versus San Diego, which is like literally the most south UC.
Yeah.
And then Cal Poly, I was like, and their financial aid wasn't like as much as Davis's because it's only like a state school. Looking at like from like an engineering standpoint, just like answer like the general question overall, like why not study engineering UC Davis? I feel like if you come out of high school like strong and knowing what you want, obviously you're gonna look into the program before you even like apply. Like, I don't know why you would apply to like a school knowing that your program's not even there. Like, that doesn't make sense, first of all. But if you do know what you want to do, then just go to that school. If Davis doesn't have like the specific discipline of engineering, like civil, electrical, computer, like if you look under each discipline and you don't have your specific field of study, then I wouldn't choose that school. But I guess like if you're already at Davis though, and like you're like a first year, if you don't want to study, I feel like people just change majors, and usually it happens for the best.
Yeah. And the nice part about the first year is it's these general classes that you probably would have to take, I guess. Like there might be some extension into the engineering world. Like I had to take some programming classes that don't really matter now. But then you can get into the nuance of it where it's like, oh, it's paid off now because I've used some of that in my real life work or something like that.
Exactly.
Connections I made in that class, I still talk to those people in different classes. So yeah, but that's a fair point. Yeah, let's see. Ooh, insider info. One thing most people don't know about UC Davis's engineering program.
We kind of touched on it earlier. Everyone is just as lost as you, and the curve will save your ass.
Oh, the curve is big. Yes. Percentages have such a, what is it, morphed reality in college. Like a 40% is not a 40% in high school, you know? Like it could be healthily passing, you know? Because everyone got a 40%. So yeah. Also, that brings up a good tip. I'm sure everyone goes over it in orientation, but one standout piece of advice I got in orientation was I had orientation with electrical and computer engineers. And I remember Kate Krevling at the time, I don't know who's in that position now, but Kate Krevling told us, all of you don't take, because we all have to take Chem 2A, and that's it. That's all we have to take, intro chem class. She said, none of you take Chem 2A your first quarter. And we're like, okay. She was like, take it winter quarter. because all the chemical engineers, all the chemistry majors, they're going to take it right off the bat and they're going to set the curve. But all us electrical computer engineers take it winter quarter and we set our curve. So we can all fail, so we pass. So yes.
I remember that advice.
Yeah, it was so smart. It like changed my worldview, you know? Oh my God.
Well, speaking of Chem 2A, that was the class that showed that for me, was like how gnarly a curve can get.
Yes. Oh yeah. Another Easter eggs about engineering or any hidden secrets.
Like one thing I have heard from like high school students when I do go back, people would say like, oh, I don't want to go to Davis. It's just Davis, you know, it's not nationwide, nationally known, but like Davis engineering is like pretty damn hard.
Yeah.
Like it's not as easy as people think, even though like we're not like ranked high, but it's really difficult still.
Yeah. And plus going on that, I guess, you know, some people might be like, Davis engineering, what's the appeal? But it's a nice central location. Davis likes to, you know, use this in their brochures a lot, where it's like, we are the key to every other place. And I make fun of it a lot because I'm like, Davis is advertising that we're close enough to run away from, you know, like you guys can go to San Francisco if you want. Sacramento, hey, LA is not that far, really. Come on, you do it for Disneyland. And it's funny because their advertising point is like, you can get out of here if you want, but we're putting you in a nice spot. So yes, but then going along with that is it puts you close enough to the Bay. It puts you close enough to Sacramento. It puts you close enough to all these engineering industries where you'll, you know, try to look for a job or an internship during school. So that is, you know, there's that appeal to it too. You know, maybe someone wants to go to Berkeley or whatever because it's in the Bay. It's like, that's where tech lives and breeds, and sometimes gets suffocated. But it's so stuffy there, you know. Carl the Fog, he's ruthless, I tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it isn't I'll say Davis isn't a nice location. I think our location slept on. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I've heard some slander from these high schoolers, you know, when I was in high school. This one guy, I remember he was telling me, oh yeah, I got into Davis. It's thank God I got in my backup school, but I'm gonna go somewhere else. And then it was funny because freshman year of college, I was in Laban and he was in Potter. And I was like, look at us, huh? Who would have thought? So,
If
yeah.
anyone knows the movie Lady Bird,
Yeah, we're in there, right?
yeah, that's literally what I was thinking of. Like, oh, I got into Davis, and she didn't want to go to Davis because it's Davis.
Yeah. So
It
can you
was-
explain that? I don't get like I've heard the reference. I don't get it. What is it?
So she was like applying to colleges, and she got into UC Davis, and her whole family was like, "Oh my gosh, Davis," because you know the name. But she
Yeah.
was like, "But she lives in Sacramento," and she's like, "But it's so close to home. What's out there? There's nothing there. You know, it's not as exciting as New York." So that's the reference. So she was basically like bashing on Davis.
I like I like that we still brag about that though. We're like, we got a reference. It's like, oh, what was the reference? Well, they were bashing on us. I'm like, okay, yeah. Any publicity is good publicity, I guess. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something people don't know.
Ooh,
But
yes.
when you go into Davis engineering, you have this expectation of 4 years. And that's something I want to like tell people, you should not push yourself for 4 years, especially with the units you need to have. That is so straining on your body and your mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, 4 years would be really nice. And I would say congrats to you. But 5 years, 6 years, it's still good. So it was like a secret, but it's like, now, and when I came here, I was like, wait, you didn't finish, you're on your 5th year or 6th year? I'm like, so it's not the expectation to finish in 4. And a lot of people in the program are not going to finish in 4.
That's really good.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, I feel like everyone now it's like, I mean, my dad went to Davis and he's like, back then everyone like did it in 5, like no one did it in 4. But now like everyone's like trying to get out in 4. And yeah, I just didn't know, like, it's okay. Like I'm like, I'm planning to go into a 5th year right now. So it's like, it's okay if you're gonna go past 4 years.
It is definitely okay. I finished in 5, just barely.
And plus, like, even if you do 5, you know, better than those doctors. They gotta do like 9 years of school or some shit. Screw that. Yeah.
That's true.
The nice part about engineers, a lot of us can just get a bachelor's and work. Some people do grad school and stuff like that. But like me personally, I'm just gonna do this bachelor's and start working.
I think people don't know that if you miss a window or quarter to take the prerequisite class, you can't take the rest of those classes until next year because those classes aren't offered every quarter. Or there's like two prerequisites, and just with the scheduling, sometimes you can miss the window of opportunity to finish that like series or like get to the upper days if you don't take it that quarter. And that can set off your entire plan because this prerequisite is a prerequisite for another prerequisite, which is a prerequisite. It just keeps going. It's like a merry-go-round. Like if you don't hop on at the right time, you miss it and you have to wait. And then another thing that would be good to know is this is very specific, but you can get internship credit to apply to your electives. And another good thing is that most people do summer internships. And my advisors told me that they typically apply those credits during the summer, but then you have to pay for summer session fees when you didn't take classes, you were doing your internship. But a trick is just to apply those credits to fall. And then that way, those roll over into your fall, like tuition or whatever you paid, and you avoid paying the summer session fees just for the internship credit. And you can do like add those credits in fall when you were paying, for those fees anyway. So that was an Easter egg I found out last summer.
That was a really good tip. Yeah. And I've taken advantage of that. Yeah. That's so smart. Also, that plays into the like 5-year stuff. Sometimes people do take internships, and like I've done 6-month internships. Like I'm doing one right now where it'll go into this fall quarter coming up. And so now I don't have to because I don't have that many courses left. But before, if I did a 6-month internship, I would maybe not have as hard of a fall quarter because I knew I was going to be splitting my time up. And then so that has pushed my like trajectory or whatever out. And then yeah, I'm so glad you said that. The thing about like prereqs, that's so hard to explain to people because I remember I had to take a physics class, but I had to wait like 2 quarters to take it. That plus internships is pretty much the whole reason I'm doing a 5th year. So really good point.
Yeah, I guess like one thing I didn't know about Davis was we're a research university apparently.
Apparently.
I didn't even know you could research engineering back in like high school.
Yeah.
I thought we already knew everything, but we actually don't know anything. So we're still figuring it out till this day.
Yeah. Do you have some examples of research that Davis does? Because I don't know anything about that, to be honest.
There's just so much.
Yeah.
Like relative to like electrical engineering, I am in a research group, which will lead in my master's soon. There's 1-year master's at Davis, but you have to start early. It's like an early admission during your 3rd year. For the EC department, it's called IDP, which is short for Integrated Degree Program. And I recently got in this past summer, so I'm currently doing that. So there's just stuff that you have to like learn early, and you have to know people.
Yes, I found that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the research world, it's a lot about connections. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like within my research, it's like so multidisciplinary. Like I can't even like, so it's supposed to be RF related, right? But you could do signal processing. There's a lot of PCB printing. There's like semiconductor stuff that I really don't know, but our master students are like experts at it. So I can't really like go into specifics because I don't know like too much of what they do. But yeah, there's a lot that you can research. You just have to reach out to your professors.
Yeah, true.
I guess I would say really focus on planning. Something I didn't know was like for GE, sometimes classes you take can count for multiple categories of your degree. And so if you kind of plan those out properly early on, then you can like avoid taking more. We're already taking so many units. So I guess that would be like kind of work smarter, not harder. Take the classes you're interested in and try to schedule it so that you can like cover multiple categories of like GEs or of your degree requirements.
Yeah. This is like the one time it's like okay to double dip, Yeah. Sharing like mini donuts with someone, they start double dipping in your like cream. It's like, come on. It's cream 50 cents a cup. Very esoteric example, but
and then also I think did Divya mention the internship units? You can like apply those to fall. That is something good to do. Don't do summer.
Yeah, that's huge. And I also like, there's that requirement where it's like every quarter you got to take like 12 units to be a full-time student. So that helps that a lot. Like those times I did take those reduced workloads because of the internship. I wasn't a part-time student. I was still a full-time student because of the internship credits. So that was really big.
Yeah. And then they give you a worksheet, I think, at orientation, and it's kind of like a baseline, but totally up to you to change it. You don't have to follow that plan. Just make sure you have the prerequisites, and I guess really pay attention to the series, like anything that will be offered in series that you need the next part, because like yeah, if you miss it, then you do have to wait a year to take the next one. But you can kind of like shuffle and play with the other classes. Just make sure you match or have the prerequisites by that time. And sometimes prerequisites will be like you can take it concurrently, so you don't have to have it done before that quarter as long as you're registered during that quarter. So there's a lot of flexibility, and you can be creative if you're taking like internship, kind of like integrate that all.
Yeah, that's a really, the concurrent point's really, that's a good point. Yeah, something could be a prereq, but it might have that little asterisk where it's like you can do it concurrently, which means like you can take this class and it's prerequisite at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can always email the professor to confirm, because I had an issue with this once where I was told I could take it concurrently, but this was like for like a senior design class. So this was kind of important. If this class is offered once a year and then like you miss it, and then, you know, senior design, you kind of need it by that point. So email the professor if you're not sure if it, or if it's a class that's like holds a lot of weight, like senior design, something that you can't push off anymore and that you need it that quarter.
Good point. What is one change you would make to UC Davis's engineering program if you could?
I don't know if this counts, but I would for sure change the buildings. The lecture halls are quite old. You know, it's engineering, innovative, futuristic, and it just, you don't feel that in the lecture halls.
Yeah.
So I would for sure change that.
Make the buildings as cutting edge as the learning. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you have an aesthetic in mind? Like more colors, better furniture?
Better furniture. I forgot what the lecture hall was. It's like the one that kind of goes underground. It starts with an R. I just remember the seats being so old. Oh my gosh, the desks are so small. We're engineers. We have a calculator. We have like the papers. We have like our notes. Like, how are we supposed to do all that with this little block of for writing?
That's fair.
Rossler, yes.
Hate that hall so much.
I did not like that hall whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I would for sure change that.
Maybe do away with the upper division English requirements.
It just sits there, doesn't it? And you just do. Oh. Yeah,
I'm not in that headspace. I'm. Oh my goodness.
There is like an exam to like opt out of the upper division, but it happens like once a quarter or once every other quarter. You have to look out for that and apply for it. I don't really think we're notified about it like directly like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things you definitely have to like seek it out yourself.
Yeah, and it's only like a one-time opportunity in a quarter. So
yes, I remember I tried it 2 years ago. It was on 420. It sticks out in my head because of that. I missed an Easter party because of it. You know, I was going to egg hunt, and that's probably the worst essay I've ever written in my entire life. I called my mom afterwards. I was like, I've never written a worse piece of shit in my entire. And yeah, I fully didn't get the credit. So I took it last summer. So yeah.
do you know if you can take it multiple times? I'm not sure about that.
I think you can. Yes.
Okay, I just took it once, and it was pretty easy, I think. But
oh,
it was like I literally registered. I registered for it like probably in the last second that I could have. I didn't know about it until like that very last moment, and I heard from a friend.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I was just having an off day. It was pretty simple too. I was just, you know.
No, that's the thing. Like I thought I didn't do as good, and then I was kind of like, I don't know how it's graded. You don't get, I don't know. It's a weird test.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how this would work, but I would change how pastimes work, because I don't know, pastimes give me a lot of fear. Whenever they're assigned, I remember distinctly, it was during winter quarter 2020, I got my pastime, and it was at the start of my midterm. And I was like, what do I do? Yeah. And a lot of people said, oh, like have a friend, you know, do it, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I'm going to have my mom sign in and do this for me. And I wish I could have talked to someone to get a little flexibility in changing that around, because I mean, at the midterm, I really can't say I can't take the midterm or all that. So I distinctly remember I showed my mom how to log in. I showed her just press this button. I've set up everything. And I was like checking schedule builder half an hour before and making sure there were seats and that once she clicked register all, it would work. And I remember walking in, it was ENG 17. It was at midterms. Obviously, ENG 17, I did not want to be in that headspace to worry about pastime, but I had to. And the midterm started at the top of the hour. And it was like at minute 57, my mom calls me. She's like, it's not working. I can't log in. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be okay. So I whip out my laptop and I try to see what's going on. And the TAs are passing out the midterm. And I'm pretty sure they thought I was, trying to do something else. And they were giving me death stares. It's like, put away your laptop. And I was like, I need to get this figured out. And luckily she was able to log in and figure it out. But that adrenaline rush right before the midterm, I really wish it could have been avoided if I could have talked to someone and been like, can we just move it like a half an hour? It really doesn't have to be that large. But yeah, I tried to talk to my professor about it, but because it was a midterm, they're very rigid about these things. So yeah, that was that.
Midterm is important because that could also change your schedule. You might have to put that class on your schedule again, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember that I really wish I could have talked to someone and I could swap with somebody. I wish they could have taken student schedules into account for pastimes because I think we can all relate pastimes are very, very stressful.
I'm sorry, that sucks.
It worked out though, so that's the silver lining.
That's great. And then that's perfect because then, the engineering department can be like, see, it worked out. We don't really have to change it.
Yes.
Yeah. And to give you my opinions on engineering 17, let's just say that's where I met Jared. And I met Jared in that class because that was my second time taking it. That's all I'll say,
Hey, man, if it's any consultation, I got a 50% on the first midterm in that class. So
I remember that. Yep.
I did too.
Damn.
I also took that class twice.
Mm-hmm. That's a rough ass class.
Also, something else. I've never been inside there, but there's like an engineering student library.
Yes, there is.
And it should be done now. That's what I've heard. I really want to go in there because I want like another space to study sometimes,
Yeah.
If you want another space, I recommend the vet library. It's not on like the main campus. It's like, where the football stadium is? It's in the same area as that. I would recommend that library because there's no one there. It's very quiet. I would recommend that library. And you can reserve rooms. They have like a whiteboard, a table, and all that. So I recommend that library.
Thank you. Yeah, but I've never really held a engineering textbook before. It's always been a shout out to LibGen. So I kind of want to go into the engineering student library and actually check out their textbooks for our course or whatever and actually go through it for once physically.
Yeah. What are your opinions about the accessibility of engineering professors? Are they approachable? How's the office hours? When you go in, you hit them with a question. What's the success rate,
So yeah, I've never had an issue with contacting a professor or meeting with them. If I ever had any issues, it would just be the amount of students that had to meet with the professor and I have to wait in line or maybe a longer response time from the professor. But I think every professor I've emailed or contacted, they've responded to me and been relatively prompt about it.
That's good.
In terms of reaching the professor, it's not bad, especially with your upper level courses, because I know for civil, there's only 30 to 40 students, so it's really easy to contact them and go to them right after class because sometimes they don't have a class after that. But approaching professors is kind of hard. A lot of them, they just give off that vibe of, I don't want to talk to you. Yeah. I say during the pandemic, having Zoom classes, it was a little easier because at least they have your name on it and they're always, okay, Stephanie, what do you have to say or what's your question? So they kind of remember your name a bit more.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I never thought about that. Yeah, they just you would think that Zoom would dehumanize us, but that's when we get our identities that are unique to us by name. Whereas in person, they're like, oh, you're that student that always comes here. And it's only till the fifth or sixth time where they're like, hey, you come here a lot. What's your name? I should probably know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So how do you combat the nerves? Because now we're going to be in person. We're going back in person. How do you combat those nerves of approaching a professor?
There's one time I think I would have a peer go up with me as like a emotional support, because there's always like at least one more person who has like the same question as you, who can like maybe elaborate on your question a bit more. So if you have like a friend in class who would go up with you to ask a question, that'd be really good. But yeah, sometimes it's just scary going up to them. It's like, oh, I don't know this, even though you just taught this, but I'm sorry. Can you tell me again?
It's like what Aaron said at the beginning, but like amplified. It's this feeling of like just inadequacy. You go up to them and you're like, I know, you like try to qualify it. So you say all these things.
Mhm.
I know I sound like an idiot right now. You probably talked about this. This is totally a simple question, probably, but and then you hit them with it and you're like, oh no, that's a valid question. And you're like, I knew it. See? Yeah, no, I came from a good place. So yeah.
Yeah, I would first say a statement of what I do know and then say the question. So they're like, okay, at least she knows something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. I totally get that.
Hmm.
I feel like it's been like pretty good, like just like how has been saying about as you get into like your upper division classes, there's less students in those classes, so it's really easy to like just talk to your professors, and especially like since we've gone online, I feel like some professors have been more flexible and like open up office hours. If you can't make it, sometimes they'll even like make a separate one for you to go like one-on-one. But in person, sometimes like the professor will just be chilling there alone, obviously like not before midterms. Like before midterms, like literally the office hour before midterms, everyone's just gonna be like stacked in there, like not COVID safe, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've had professor experiences where they're like super eager to like help you and want to make an effort to make themselves available, but I've also had professors that are not that, and they just do like their one office hour that they like have to do or whatever. And I don't make use of the latter very much because unapproachable professors scare me a little. But overall, I found that if you need to reach a professor, I mean, you can. Some are just scarier than others and not as available, but I've reached professors I needed to reach.
No, I agree with everyone. I haven't had any issues contacting professors that I'm in their class, like for that course. I guess cold emailing professors and might be a little bit different story. But yeah, for my classes, I've had access. For office hours, yeah, like usually don't expect much time if it's going to be like right before the midterm. But all professors usually email back really quick.
Perfect. What is the one piece of advice you have to current and prospective engineering students?
I think my best advice for engineering students is that there's a stereotype of that engineering students don't have like an outside life.
Oh.
I want to say that's false, and it's possible to have a life outside of engineering.
No.
It's really just balancing your social and academic life. And I don't know if I'm just saying this because I already graduated, but school is not everything.
Mhm.
I feel like I miss family milestones because of classes or I need to study. And I'm kind of like, why did I do that? So yeah, so don't miss like your sister's birthday because you got to study. Yeah.
And I found in the workplace too, this is even more true. Like in
Mhm.
school, it's hard because, like Jared said, if you're screwing up, it's most likely your fault. But at
Mhm.
work, the best, like one of the best pieces of advice I've gotten from the engineering like industry is if you take a break from your work just for a day or so, it's not like the company's going to collapse. Someone can
Yeah.
provide coverage. So yeah, you shouldn't, try to die on this hill and be like, they need me. It's like they do. You're an integral part, but we got you for a little bit if you need it. So yeah. Good idea. The old classic work-life balance, huh?
Yeah.
That old thing. Yeah.
Because at my job, they're really pushing people to like use your PTO, take a day off, like please. And it's something that you kind of forget that you could do that because of college.
Yeah. Yeah. They've conditioned us,
Mhm.
Yeah.
For every class that you have, make one friend in there. If there's some guy sitting alone, sit next to him, just do something, get a contact information that you can try to depend on, and do something else besides school with them as well. That usually helps.
Very good piece of advice.
Oh, one more thing. I'm currently studying for the FA exam to get my engineering training certificate. Especially with your upper divs, keep the homework in your tests and all your notes. Because there was a point where I was throwing them away And then I realized I'm going to take the FA exam, and I'm like, now I kind of hoard them. So I have this whole folder of just one class. So keep your notes because they kind of can come in handy for other things, especially if you're going to take the FE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you get to look forward to that day where you get to purge it all. Just
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I can't save this, and it worked out.
yeah.
I would say we talked about those times where you just feel so overwhelmed, or like when you're feeling like incapable or whatever. I've 100% been there in the middle of these past 3 quarters of this year, especially. Like I would find myself in the middle of the quarter being like, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't even see myself getting to the end of this quarter. Like, how am I going to do that? And I just say, when you have so many things on your plate, you don't know what to do, just pick one thing. Just pick one thing and tackle it. Because if you look at everything you have to do, you're not going to do anything, honestly. It's like you just get overwhelmed. So just pick one thing, get through it, pick the next thing, get through it, and then eventually somehow you always get through one way or another. But you can just have a lot of things going on and just pick one thing and do it.
Yeah, I find that's the hardest part for me, just starting. But once you start, like just getting one thing under the belt, I mean, that's the whole mindset behind making beds, right? That all those productivity hackers do. They're like, make your bed, that way you feel like you accomplished something today. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But what about the rest of the day? And they're like, well, you made your bed, bud. I'm like, I did, didn't I? Huh. Look at me.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're doing nothing, I mean, nothing is getting done. But if you do just even a little thing, you did a thing. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good piece of advice.
Just adding on to Aaron, coming in, I was like super ambitious. I really wanted to do like everything. I just wanted it like so quick, but I tried to handle too much at once, and I ended up going into like severe burnout. Like last summer, I worked 12-hour shifts for like 5 to 7 days a week. And I kept this going from like once spring quarter ended all the way till school started. I don't know why. I forgot how hard school was. I went to school and I took 2 lab courses, and it was the worst decision of my life. I had like severe burnout. So energy management, I think, is like really important. Taking breaks is actually a thing. Not overloading yourself, constantly working. It's that balance that Stephanie was talking about.
I have 2 questions, I guess. If you were to go back and do that differently, what would you have done differently?
Oh, I would have stopped working like the beginning of September, man, and just like tell myself to give myself a break.
Gotcha. That's smart. And then the whole, that idea of like take breaks, I agree. But then there's always the thing, it's easier said than done. So how do you do it? And I don't even think I have the answers. So do you have like advice on how to take breaks effectively?
For one, if I stopped in September and just gave myself like a week of break, then I would have been like totally fine. But I worked till like school started because it was online still. Man, that's a great question. Like, I guess school's not everything, right? Like what you think you're going to specialize in could be what you do in the future, but it could not be also. So it's good to like just step away from school sometimes, join a club, take Friday nights off, like just add something in your routine, like gymming, something just not academic to take your mind off of it.
Yeah. I find that's some of the best, I don't know, I haven't seen that many engineers, but some of the most happy engineers are the ones that, don't just do engineering. They're people outside of that. And like Steph said, we are people outside of that. And I think leaning into that actually makes for a healthier engineer, a happier and healthier engineer. Is a diverse engineer.
I guess friends, that's where it goes back to people.
That's true. Friends help. Yeah. And plus there's always that thing, if you have engineering friends, that helps in a different way, in that they understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
And we've said some things like engineering 17, that strikes a chord with most of us, I would say, So we're friend like engineering 17, they're like, yep, that's 3 letters and 2 numbers, but it doesn't mean much more than that. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, friends helps.
When you start your college journey to when you finish, like, that 4 or 5 years, however long it takes, like it will happen. You will get your degree. That time will pass no matter what. So just kind of like enjoy it. Definitely make friends, whether you have friends like in your classes or in a group or a club or an internship or anything. Make the most of everything, even like your classes. Sometimes it can feel like you have a queue of things to do and you're just like doing the next thing, get this done by this deadline. but you know, definitely like invest your time in your assignments and be like proud of your work, I would say. That too.
And also the nice part, the whole college experience, like we said, a lot of us take 5 years to do this thing. And so that's good. It gives us one more year to be a college student, get even more college memories.
Mm.
We liked college so much. Let's do another year of it. Yeah.
I would say it gets better because I remember being a freshman and taking, I think it was physics 9A, and I was like, oh gosh, what did I get myself into? But now that I'm entering my senior year and I'm looking at full-time jobs, things like that, I'm really happy I stuck it out and I, persevered. But obviously engineering is not for everyone. It's perfectly okay if you need to switch to another major or something like that. But for me, I knew that I really wanted to be an engineer and that I wanted computer engineering on my diploma. And I'm really glad that I didn't give up. And I did all of the things that everyone here mentioned, take breaks, be balanced, find good friends. All of that I think ties into the fact that if you're truly passionate about it, like we are, it gets better and it will be 100% worth it.
I found that's true. My mom's an engineer. And one thing she's always instilled in me, and like, no matter how hard it gets, she's like, remember what you're working towards. And yeah, as I've gone through the process, it becomes more and more clear that, oh yeah, I did this for a reason. So this is just my long way of saying, I guess my mom was right. Don't tell her. That doesn't leave this room. If she finds out, changes our dynamic, So, but I think she's right. Yeah. So was engineering your first option, and are you happy with your decision?
Yeah, pretty much I did what do you call it? Like just cross off what I didn't like. So I couldn't see myself in like the medical field.
Same.
I wasn't the best essay writer. So anything essays, I was kind of like just avoiding it. Coming out of high school, I was like pretty decent at calculus. And that's where it comes down to just like engineering, like which engineering now. I guess I should have chosen chemical engineering. I knew nothing about electrical going to college, but I did hear that if you're like decent at calculus, you could try electrical engineering, which I could see why now, because I study mostly around like electromagnetics. Electromagnetics uses a lot of calculus and multivariable calculus. So my previous calculus knowledge has like been pretty much carrying me up till now.
Yeah.
So you asked if we regret it or not, right?
Are you
or happy? Sorry.
Happy with your decision? Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay, that's good. Aaron, was engineering your first option? Are you happy?
Yes, it was. Like I said, I applied elsewhere for other things, but engineering was always like my top choice. And am I happy with my decision? Yes. Obviously, when you get in the middle of like the chaos of a quarter, it's like, wow, why did I do this to myself? But overall, at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm glad I'm doing it.
Jared?
I think technically yes, because I came into computer science and engineering, which based on the name, you'd figure it was like half hardware, half software. Turns out it was a CS degree with the engineering requirement. So transforming over to like electrical was probably the best thing I did. And even in high school, like calculus, like Nijo said, big thing that I enjoyed or was good at. But I really liked physics. But turns out just going for a physics degree really doesn't net you that many good job opportunities. So I'd say, yeah, electrical engineering, first choice-ish, asterisk. But yeah, I'm happy with it.
That's good. That's good. Brianna?
Yeah, same thing as him almost. I came in as computer engineering. I really enjoyed it, but I've also like taken some circuits classes in G17, and after that I kind of acquired electrical engineering. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, it was my first choice and I'm really happy with it. Definitely not exactly the same as what I thought it would be when I started. Thought it was gonna be more of just like straight computer science, but I'm very happy with it. It's good because it's like diverse, I guess.
Gotcha.
Engineering was not my first choice.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since I was 7 years old, I wanted to go into architecture.
Okay.
I changed my mind right before college applications in high school. I actually applied to SLO with architecture, and then Davis is engineering. And I got into Davis for engineering, and I don't regret it. I love civil engineering, and I'm kind of happy I'm not in architecture because I don't have the creative capacity to do that or the skills,
Yeah.
but I do have the math to build a building.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And you're happy.
For sure.
For sure. That's good. Leave no doubt.
No doubt.
Yeah. Divya, what about you?
Yeah, engineering was my first choice, but I came in as an electrical engineering major. And then at the end of my freshman year, I switched over to computer engineering. But then I realized that the computer engineering major is all the hard CS classes and all the hard EE classes thrown together, and they called it computer engineering, which I wasn't too thrilled about. I remember I looked at the coursework and I saw that I took all the lower div ECS classes, and then I jumped to circuits classes. And then the next ECS class I had to take was ECS 150, which is operating systems. And I remember starting that quarter and remembering that I haven't taken a coding class since like 2 years ago. You can ask me about circuits. I can speak to that, but I just remember I really had to review everything again. And I wish the coursework was better integrated, but I still am happy with my choice. I'm glad I did it. I think it taught me to be very flexible and adapt to new situations, to put it that way. But yeah, I think I know when I graduate, I'll be really happy I did that.
Perfect. Awesome. Are you proud to tell people you study engineering? I guess specifically at UC Davis.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, it's just really a one-word answer, huh? Yeah.
So yeah, I will say I am. I always had the mindset that a school's kind of a school once you get to a certain level. So pride in a specific one never really made that much sense to me.
Yeah.
But anytime I tell a family member or friends that I'm at Davis or they ask, you just kind of see them beam. So there is a pride there. So yes.
Yeah. Also, I just speak on that. I found that like college ranks matter so much to a high schooler. I'm speaking about high school me. And then you go to college, you're like, this shit doesn't matter. You like go where you think you'll be best in, don't go by rank. I've said this many a time that some people are like, if you got into Berkeley, would you have gone there? And I was like, honestly, yeah, even though I don't like the Bay Area really. And like my sister went to Berkeley, like I visit for her, not the area. And so, but I totally still would have gone to Berkeley because I was like, well, look at that rank number, huh? Even though I know Davis is like perfect for me. That's exactly, I'm a Davis person, like Steph, People, I still don't know what that means. People were like, you're a Davis person. I was like, do I smell like cows? Is that what's up? So yeah, still figuring it out. Rihanna, what do you say? Are you proud to tell people you studied engineering?
Yes, I am. I'm really happy with what I am studying. And yeah.
Perfect. Steph?
I am extremely proud to tell people I'm in engineering. On my dad's side of the family, I am the only engineer amongst 20 cousins.
Holy shit.
So it's a pretty big deal when I graduated. They're like, oh my gosh, we have an engineer in the family. Yeah.
Congrats.
Generally, yeah, I am happy. But I mean, not to like mention ranking, but it's like if you say it to people who are like above, like in rankings higher than Davis, then like they'll kind of shake you off, which does make you a little unhappy.
Yeah.
But then like, if we say to like ranking wise below, then people will like wow you, and then like you kind of feel like happy on the inside, but like, you have to be humble about like, it's nothing,
Yeah. I believe there's a guy named, I think his name is Albert. He came up with this theory of relativity. So everything's relative. Yeah. Yeah. I think they call him Al. Just, yeah. Divya, are you proud to tell people you're in engineering?
Yeah, I think it's one of the first things I tell people when I meet them, because it's like one of the few things I got going for me. But yeah, I always am saying like, hi, I'm Divya. I go to Davis. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Great. And then the last question, we're in the home stretch now. We're rounding third. Would you recommend studying engineering at UC Davis? Steph.
I want to say yes because I'm biased.
Okay.
But okay, because I only have my experience for engineering in Davis, I would say, yeah, do it. But if you know someone else who has a different experience of engineering at a different college and you think that aligns more with you, I say go for that. It really depends on the person because obviously the Davis vibes plus the engineering really worked out for me.
Yeah.
But if you're more of like you want to be around like something more alive, lively, a little more city, maybe UC Davis wouldn't be for you, especially if it's going to be engineering. But I think engineering at other places would also be good. It just really depends on where you want to be.
Yeah.
I think you make it what you want it to be.
That's a good point. Damn. And I like that you made that point where it's like, it really depends on the individual. I find it so bold, like the absolute temerity of these folks at some universities where they're like, we're the best for everyone. I'm like, for everyone? Like, you know, there's people that like don't like chocolate. And chocolate's like, I feel like it's objectively good, but there's some people that just don't like, I'll speak from my own perspective. I hate tomatoes. Tomatoes, in my opinion, are the worst food in the entire world. I can't eat a tomato for some reason. But like, there's people that like tomatoes. And there's some people that are like, everyone loves tomatoes because they're so amazing. And I'm like, it's just not in my DNA, man. And so yes, tomatoes might be objectively good. They have a good program, a good thing going, but it'll never work for me. So I'm glad you acknowledge that, like, you know, it is good and you recommend it, but it ultimately comes down to an individual.
Exactly.
Nijo, would you recommend studying engineering at UC Davis?
For electrical engineering, yes, I would, because I think we rank #1 in diversity. And I think diversity is even in electrical engineering. You name it. We could go, like, you go into industry, research. Either one is cool. We got RF, digital systems, circuitry, like integrated circuits, power engineering, like all the fields of electrical engineering. There's a lot of like alternative plans that you want, like we have it all. So I would highly encourage people to study electrical engineering at Davis.
Gotcha. Okay. Brianna, would you recommend studying engineering at UC Davis?
Yes, I would. Same reasons for Nijo, but also I would say like if you work, it depends on the individual, and so maybe like research the type of engineering or discipline if that's something they already know what they want and look into like the university. But for electrical engineering and computer engineering, which is kind of like my domain, I would say yes, I had a good experience, and Davis does have a lot to offer. Whether you want to go into like research or industry, you have both options.
Gotcha. Jared, would you recommend engineering at UC Davis?
I would say yes. Any issue that I've had with Davis has seemed to be minor compared to anything else, or it's just an issue I've got with schooling in general.
Yeah.
There's nothing Davis specific or engineering specific that I can really say I hate that much. So I can say that it's worked out pretty well for me. So I would, but caveat applies to everything else.
Sure.
You kind of need to go to the school that works for you.
Sure. Good point. Good point. Divya, would you recommend engineering at UC Davis?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend computer engineering because every issue that I had ended up working out. And I think that could have only happened at Davis with how nice that everyone is and how accommodating professors can be. I know maybe some other universities may have more rigid and strict policies, but at the same time, I think you have to like the small college town feel to like Davis. If you want to be in a city where it's more lively and more hustle and bustle, then you might not enjoy Davis. But I think it's so unique to live in a college town where you have cows and horses and llamas that you can go visit, and it's so easy to walk to your friend's apartment. Like things like that really make a unique college experience. So yes, I would.
And plus, one of our selling points, we're so close to the hustle and bustle of the Bay Area. Yes. So if you want to leave, you totally can for a couple days. So yes. And then Aaron, would you recommend studying engineering at UC Davis?
Yes, I would. Kind of like Jared said, it's like any issue I've had, it's not like with the engineering, it's like I enjoyed the engineering here. Yeah, of course, again, there may be some days where my answer is less enthusiastic, but generally, yes, I do recommend.
Awesome. Well, great. That is the last of our questions. Thanks so much. And yeah, that was really good. You guys did a dope job. That wasn't a very professional way to say that. You guys did a dope job.
The heart was there though.
Yeah.
Imagine someone at like a, what is it? Like a funeral service being like, yeah, they did a dope job at life. And it was like, awesome. That guy.
Touching sentiment.
Yeah. Someone from the audience is like, I wish you died. It's like, easy.